Flying saucers, robots, mad scientists? Films of the 1950s explored ideas of what mad scientists and technology might bring upon the world of the future. Sci-fi fans from all over the world collect memorabilia and enjoy the entertaining aspects of science fiction. But how fiction is the science fiction? One man seems to have blurred the answer to this question. While surfing the internet one summer's day in the year 2004, I discovered a website. Unlike most websites, I found myself spending more than 2 hours looking at it through all the pages. At first I was entertained, then I started asking myself what it was all about. What I had found was Dr.Steel.com, and what I was interested in finding out was, who was the man behind the goggles? On the surface, Dr. Steel looks like a cartoon character. Even in his online toy store, World Domination Toys, he's pictured as a friendly, smiling animation welcoming people into his digital shopping center. He mixes humor and music and encourages everybody to join his army of toy soldiers to help him take over the world. His story tells of a toy maker who, when fired from his job making killer toys, sought only revenge by burning down the toy factory. He then found himself in an insane asylum only to escape with plans of world domination. It seems like a gimmick or a joke, but the closer I peered into Dr. Steel's world, the more serious this mad scientist seems to become. I decided to contact the man himself, so I emailed Dr. Steel personally to ask him if he really thinks that he's going to take over the world. Dr. Steel declined a video or phone interview, but he did respond to our email. Dr. Steel wrote, "My plans for world domination have already begun to manifest. The world is in the process of becoming a utopian playland with each and every toy soldier who places imagination and creativity at the forefront of their minds. Taking over the world is as much an internal conquest as an external one. And through the unified field, we see a change in global consciousness. A world makeover is already occurring." But if Dr. Steel's plans for world domination are hinged on fun, then why is he building an army? And what exactly is the army of toy soldiers? We asked one of the more active members of the toy soldier, a man who goes by the name of Crazy, about being in Dr. Steel's army.
Well, my involvement right now is, basically I'm, one of the elite. I'm what is called in rank as a yellow jacket. It's one of those people that actually go out there and literally put themselves in harm's way to promote Dr. Steel. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to get out the concept of just having fun. And the life isn't really about going to a 9-to-5 job, working in a cubicle, and having to work at something that you essentially hate in life. Building a utopian playland basically means that you should go out, find the things that you enjoy doing. So really, we're not trying to arm up and take the world over or storm the White House and, jihad. We're not a militant group. If that's construed as that and everything, then if anything, the observer has the wrong perception of us. We are here simply to have fun.
So where does the fantasy end and the reality begin? I was interested in knowing who Dr. Steel really is, so I asked Crazy, who claims to know him personally, if he had ever heard the name Daniel Johnson.
I have heard the name Daniel Johnson. I've actually gotten emails from various people asking me if Dr. Steel is this individual. There's also been a couple of other names that have been emailed to me too. Whether he is or he isn't, in a way, it really doesn't matter. He has become something of his own design, and that is what each of us has the potential to do, to be and do that thing that we have always dreamed about. So to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter, because Dr. Steel is Phineas Waldolf Steel.
However, Daniel Johnson was a name that seemed to continually come up when researching Dr. Steel. Be it a very common name, I found a lead through a multimedia company who in part makes toys. An employee of this company agreed to discuss his knowledge about a certain Daniel Johnson as long as we did not mention his or the company's name in our film.
When I first started with the toy company, and I remember when I went into the offices, there was some artwork hanging around, very interesting type of artwork. And it was a couple of days before I really would start inquiring, where's this stuff come from in the company? And they said it was from an employee named Daniel Johnson, and that was his work. But I know the way the company was, that really wasn't stuff that they were going to be working with. So I did see where he sat, and a couple of times I tried to make conversation. He was a very nervous, agitated individual, very tight on his work, staying to himself, uncomfortable when I talked to him. And I made several attempts and thought maybe even sometime we'd like to go out for lunch. But he had his little crumpled bag with him with his own bill of fare, whatever he had, and didn't want to have anything really to do with anyone. Pretty much after that, I left him alone, and which is everybody else learned to do. And I noticed that a lot of his work was, to me, very interesting, very well done, but nothing that the company would produce. Sometime after that, he got fired. Apparently, his work wasn't concentrating on what the company wanted. Of course, the company being where I work, which I don't really want to go into that because of legal reasons, and I still am working there, thank goodness. But one day going out to work after he was fired, I noticed as I was going over toward the hill, there was a plume of smoke coming up. So I figured there was a brush fire, some kind of fire going on. The closer I got, I noticed it was very close to where I work. So I figured, okay, the streets are going to be closed off. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get into the parking lot. Am I going to get to work late? Driving closer, I realized it was actually our building. So I thought, okay, there goes a job for a while. I don't know what I'll be doing. We kind of gathered out front behind the fire line, and it was then that somebody said that they had apprehended the arsonist, and it was Daniel Johnson.
So is Daniel Johnson really the man behind the goggles?
I don't feel that Daniel could be that outgoing, although he had strange ideas and strange thoughts of how he wanted things to work, corporate not being one of them. That would be the only close thing I would relate, but I just can't see Daniel doing that out in front of the public.
Perhaps his story was the inspiration for the creation of the character.
I went to Parkview High. This was back in Missouri, class of '98. And there's a gentleman there that was in a theater class of mine by the name of Jonathan Stahl. And we weren't exactly best friends. We never really hung out. He was actually a senior when I believe I was like a sophomore. But he definitely was the kind of guy who would leave an impression. Like, he's a very funny guy. He's very, very expressive. And when I first saw Dr. Steel, saw his shtick and what he's all about, there was something that was very, very familiar about that. And it just, it kind of clicked with me one time. I'm like, that's John Stahl. His expressions, his mannerisms, what he's doing, that performance, it really made sense to me. And not only that, but a couple years after high school, when I was done, my brother had mentioned to me that John Stahl had gone on and started a band, that he was, kind of looking for people to help him out and get this thing going. And it's like, what did this guy have up his sleeve? That had to have been it.
We found additional leads regarding the name Jonathan Stahl on the internet, yet some of the information didn't seem to line up. We found ourselves back on the Daniel Johnson trail and decided to track his path to the mental institution Dr. Steel had supposedly escaped from.